This is Ann,
And
and we look way farther beyond the fence line.
today we're here to talk about
Our riding journey and the intentions or the central idea, like the topic of this podcast. This episode, we're going to be talking about our riding journey and this topic or central idea of this podcast. So I'm going to go first and I'm going to talk about where I started to where I am now. Okay. So what made me get into riding? So my mom, um, she's 41 now, but she started when she
oh,
was 8. Um, and she was in that industry for a long time. Um, and then she quit after for a little bit because she had to go to college and she didn't have room for that. And then she had me. So, when I was 3, I asked my mom I wanted to do riding. So we started off at a dressage barn um for I think 6 of the 8 years I've been riding. And I did dressage for that amount of time. But now I do hunters at a amazing barn with Tunnelbean. And that's where I met her. So let's talk about some of that in depth a little bit. So, um, when I decided I didn't want to do dressage anymore and I just wasn't happy because my pony wasn't getting the best care because she recently got x-rays from Cornell and we found out that she had cancer. Um, so she was not given the right care. Her antibiotics were not being given to her. So we decided to move to a different place, but that wasn't the place where I met Kenna. Um, we had her there for a little bit, and that's where she passed away. The Hunter Jumper Barn, I was very, very, very new. I had no idea how to do anything. My hands were this high, and I'm not. And she knows because she watched me. Um, so I just didn't have the best riding foundation, and I think that dressage is the best for the foundation of riding, like seat and heels. But that just wasn't the case for me. So the first horse I ever rode, he's so sweet, and then I moved up to the horse I'm riding now.
so I would say I've been riding for about like 5 years or four. I think 4 years. Um, I did like all the sports you could imagine before horseback riding, trying to find what suited me. For a long time, it was gymnastics and cheer. Actually, I only did cheer for 1 year because my coach was really, really mean. Um, but I did gymnastics for like quite a few years in between like all these sports. But I quit gymnastics and I started horseback riding once I started not enjoying gymnastics. And I started at the barn and I knew nobody. I knew nothing, like nothing. Um, think, yeah. And I would say I've gone through plenty of ups and downs. I've ridden almost every single horse we have in our barn. Like there's a few I haven't. But I definitely would say I'm more of a gutsy rider than like a one to like hold back. Um, I'm probably one of the only gutsy riders in our barn. Not a lot of people are this gutsy, but I like adrenaline. I like high jumps. I like speed. I like tight turns, and I like winning obviously. But I will always put the horse before winning and the ribbons and everything. Like the horse always comes first. Like, and I always come first if I'm not feeling up to it. But my horse maybe. If I'm not in the right state of mind, I'm not gonna go and like put my horse in danger. Um, but I've definitely had a great experience. I've never switched barns and I'm hoping I never have to because I love the barn where I'm at. And I think in 2022. I think it was like a year and a half after I started riding. I was so blessed to have the opportunity to buy my first horse, Brownie. And I think we had a good year and a half after buying him, but he just he just felt like he wasn't enjoying it. He didn't want to do his work. Like he didn't want to be ridden. Like he just hated working. And like some people will say that's stubbornness, but he wasn't just acting up while riding, he was acting up on the ground. Like even just walking him, he was not acting like how he was. Like he was like his whole personality had changed. And so that's when I knew it was time to retire him. And I think would like not retire him, but I stopped riding him as often. I was getting him out maybe like twice a month and just like hopping on him bareback if he did if he was in a bad mood, then he was in a bad mood. And that's when we decided to move Brownie over to my trainer's daughter's barn, where he is getting turned out all the time. Well, not anymore because it's winter, but he was getting turned out all the time. Nobody was riding him. Like he's getting fed well. Like he's doing so much better there. And he had stopped like all his bad habits when he was there, like when he went over. It was just like the better place for him. And when he went over, we had the opportunity to buy an off the track thoroughbred, which he was fresh off the track. I think he's yeah, Jet is 3. And he we clicked. Like there was no I'm not understanding him. Like we literally just clicked. And I was unfortunately I woke up early the day before a horse show at 3:30 in the morning to get ready and go see him right off the from at the track, and I wasn't able to go in because I wasn't old enough. So I had to sit in the car for 2 hours while my mom sent me pictures and videos, and I was in the car ready to cry because I really wanted to go see him. But my mom said he was a sweetheart. My trainer said she loved him. So I trusted their gut and I bought him. And he is just the best thing that could ever happen to me. And I'm so blessed for all my opportunities and everything.
Okay, so now we have to talk about the topic of this podcast now that we've kind of compacted our riding journey into a few words. So, what this podcast and the overall intentions of this is going to be and the purpose of why we're even doing this podcast is for kids and teens or just genuinely anybody who wants to learn anything about horses. With horsey or non-horsey parents, it doesn't matter if they know stuff or if they don't. It's always nice to know what's going on inside your horse's body, what to look for when you're buying one, and why you should know these things before you buy them because it's very beneficial for
Yeah.
your knowledge to know this before you even consider buying a horse. Or if you have one and you don't know how to take care of it and you want to learn how to, this is for you. Um, so your parents can watch this with you. It's very just family friendly, just a way to learn about anything you want to know. Um, if you're looking to start up riding or buying a horse, this podcast will be about the basic needs of a horse and their care. Where to find a barn? No, not necessarily where to find a barn, but just what to look for in a trainer. And just their facility overall. Um, you wanna look for, red flags, green flags, and that's what this is gonna be about. Now that we've introduced ourselves and we talked about the intentions of this podcast, we're going to talk about the overall expenses when you first buy your course. So let's talk about feed, grain, what types of feed you should get for if you have a senior or just more of a middle-aged horse, or if you have a yearling. So the food type does matter because if you are feeding a senior yearling food, it doesn't have the same benefits as it would to a yearling through a senior. And that's something that should be crystal clear for everyone because some people, it's just set in stone. Like, yes, we know this and it should be like top knowledge, but some people do not. And that's completely okay. But if you're doing it on purpose because you don't have the money to buy the brain needed for the specific force, then you should really look into the proper care. So let's you should buy top grade hay. Depending on your area, you have to look into that because it could be a hot or cold climate, which does depend on the hay quality. So you guys have to look into that. Um, Horses should get about 4 flakes of hay. Um, so let's talk about the moderation of that. Horses should be fed throughout the day. When horses are being fed per se like breakfast and dinner, cut stone throughout the day, nothing in the middle, it's gonna slam hard on their stomachs. And it's not gonna create a good balance of when your horses should be fed and when they should be not. So throughout the day, I suggest a hay feeder. Um, that's absolutely amazing if your horse has history of colic or
Okay.
you're just you want to prevent it first before it even happens. So a hay feeder is meant as like a slow feeder per se, like so they can have it throughout the day and they can munch on it. Um that's beneficial for your horse so they don't colic. So, on the topic of grain, um you want to talk to your vet about that. And what your vet has to do with this, you want a good one as well. You don't want a cow vet. You don't want anybody else who specializes in any other animal because horses are very complex. They have tendons, muscles, everything in their body could go wrong in just one twist. And you want someone who knows exactly about that. Even like massage equine therapists, they know a bunch of stuff um about the muscles in their bodies. Okay, so back on the topic, massage equine therapists really have to excel in their area to be able to tell if your horse has lameness or soreness, which we'll be able to get to talk about more in the next episode. So, back to what we are on about the feed. You really need to talk to your vet about that because there are different types of feed for different sort of things. Like, she'll tell you about what her horse is on right now.
Um, so right now, when we got Jet off the track, he was originally just on 2 scoops of sweet horse food, but we have been playing around with his grain. He started getting skinny, so we started adding more. So we started giving him like extra food, but that made him like really crazy and really energetic and like just like full of himself, which isn't what we wanted while we're training him. So you're experimenting more and more, but then he kept losing his weight. So right now he's on 2 scoops of sweet, and then she fills the rest up with bulk. So like we have like tubs, and she fills the rest up with bulk, and then only in the morning he gets a weight gain supplement to help him gain weight, and we'll slowly wean him off of it once he starts getting more muscles and everything.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
Depending on what kind of brain my horse is on, per se, if I were somebody new, what type of exercises would I have to contribute to make sure that it doesn't like overwhelm them with the amount of new food that they're getting or like the transition over to the new food?
I would say, like, to help transition, like, if I wouldn't just, like, fully, like, take away the grain that they're used to and just put in new grain because then they won't eat it and then they won't be eating and, like, that's just not good for your horse. I would mix the 2, like, slowly and, like, if they're good for mixing. Like some grains you can't mix, but like if you can mix these two grains, I would, just to help with the transition and like them getting in the new taste and everything.
Okay. So, back on the topic of hay, what we're going to talk about in this section is what you should feed yours, like in the moderation part. There's always like if your horses are outside 24/7, if you're in a hot or cool climate, you're always going to want blankets on. Um that depends on the horse and their fur pattern or their coat. Um but this all has to do with hay because if you don't give enough hay, they're not going to be able to forage enough to heat their bodies up. And that's really um it's not good for them because they need that hay to warm themselves up. So, because they can't find the food sources that they need to stay warm because they don't have blankets, they don't have ways to keep themselves warm it's because they're not in captivity. Um so why hay is this important is because your horse can't go out and find food for themselves in the winter or in the summer. Um And this has to do with water as well, because if your horse has problems with digesting or just needs a little help, and this can be beneficial for any horse. I fed my pony this, Willow, when she was sick. We soaked her hay with water, like thoroughly. You put it in a hay bag is what we did, and we soaked it with just like regular hose water, and that did perfectly. And it didn't get like caught or scratched in her throat, which was amazing. And that helps make it glide smoother down their throat and it doesn't cause blockages or choking. And it helps prevent colic. Now, if your horses are primarily outside, which is a great thing and should be done more, but in moderation. If your horses are being kept out in heavy snowstorms, heavy rain, which is sometimes good for them and sometimes they need it. Heavy snowstorm is just the one that we are most worried about. Um, and that's something that you need to take care of. Um, in pride of being um the provider for your horses. They need you to be there because they need you to help them with their because they need you to help them with their digestive system and their heat. So hay has just a big play on everything. That's why you need to give it as much as you possibly can in any weather conditions. It's just very important to your horse and to you if you want to keep your horse safe and healthy. Um, and that's just one thing that we needed to go over. Um, especially in the winter, horses can become, the water can become to the horses, very unappealing. There are different supplements that you can put in their water. You can put regular electrolytes in there as long as they don't contain a lot of sugar. Um, Gatorade, some people do give to their horses in their water buckets. Um, Salt licks are good for horses in the winter because they have all those minerals and they entice water drinking. And just like for people who don't have horses, they take electrolytes, so it entices them to drink water more. So that's the exact same thing that horses do. Um, they want to stay warm and they want to completely stop because water drinking in winter is so important. And it's one thing that everyone really needs to look out for.
So there was like a few things I wanted to add. So, it's very important that before you ride, like you get your horse out and you ride him and you lunge him, that they have hay in their system, in their stomach, because without hay, there's just a bunch of stomach acid like just sloshing around in their stomach, which doesn't make them feel good. But if when they have hay in their stomach or their digestive system, it soaks up all of that like stomach acid and it makes their stomachs just a lot less like sloshy and everything. And another, like, if you do notice your horse isn't drinking as much water, all of the solutions that Emmy added or talked about were amazing. Know this one girl on TikTok, and she was adding like just like a little scoop of salt into their horse's grain to encourage them to drink water, which is, I would say, the most like cheapest option rather than like buying like a $7 salt lick or like, and it's hard to find electrolytes that don't have a lot of sugar in them, especially in like America, because our food is all very, very processed. Um, so salt is just a little scoop of salt in the grain, not too much, is a great cheap alternative to get them to drink water. If your horse is drinking like half their water bucket or like even more, I wouldn't add any salt. If they're only drinking like a fourth or a fifth of their water bucket, especially in the summer, I would start adding salt and like doing all those things that Emmy mentioned to encourage water drinking. But yeah, that's all it.
Hi guys, I just wanted to finish this off because my computer did die and we lost a lot of the recordings, unfortunately. Um, and I just want to get this out here to you guys so you all can enjoy the information. I just wanted to say I'm so thankful for having a fan base so I can actually have people react to this when I post it. So I'm really excited. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. If you're watching this and you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so. It would help us out a ton. Um, I'm just really blessed to have all these opportunities to have people like you, specifically everyone who has been following me from the start, or if you guys are just tagging along, thank you guys so much. Mwah, mwah. Um, I'm sure this will be out soon, so thank you so much for tagging along, guys. I love you so much, and I'll be sure to post another one of these another time when I get to it. Bye.